A shadow is falling over the American landscape. And it's not a passing cloud. It's the darkness left behind by empty dining rooms and boarded-up windows. In just 1 year, more than 1,200 of our nation's restaurants have vanished. Now, the sickness is spreading faster, targeting the very places that hold our memories: the family dinners, the first dates, the post-game celebrations. These are the brands we grew up with, the names we thought were permanent fixtures of our towns. Prepare yourself, because 2025 is shaping up to be a graveyard for giants. We've compiled a list of 12 iconic chains teetering on the edge of oblivion. This isn't speculation. It's based on a grim reality of mass closures, unpaid employees, and corporate decay. Some are just weeks away from disappearing from your neighborhood forever. But the most chilling part of this story is the identity of the chain in our #1 spot. It's a name once considered invincible, and the truth behind its collapse is something the mainstream media refuses to show you. Stay with us as we uncover the unsettling reality of what's truly happening. 12. The sunken ship Red Lobster. A feeling of dread is creeping into the American dining scene, claiming giants we once thought were unsinkable. The first on our list is a collapse that sent shockwaves through the country, a name that felt as permanent as the tides: Red Lobster. For decades it was more than just a restaurant. It was a cornerstone of the American dream. It was the place you went for an affordable taste of luxury after a grueling work week, where a plate of shrimp scampi marked anniversaries and small victories. It was where families gathered, where the scent of Cheddar Bay biscuits was synonymous with comfort and connection. Those memories are now being auctioned off, piece by piece. The decay began subtly, like a hairline crack in a ship's hull. In early 2024, the signs were there for those who looked closely. Operating hours were inexplicably shortened. Employees saw their shifts dwindle. The menu, once a testament to oceanic bounty, began to shrink. Confusing for lease signs appeared on some storefronts, yet loyal patrons dismissed them as temporary setbacks. But the sea was rising, and the ship was taking on water faster than anyone could bail. The declaration of bankruptcy was the final deafening crack. In a horrifyingly swift purge, over 100 locations were shuttered. The lights went out, the iconic signs were torn down, and kitchen equipment was sold to the highest bidder. Parking lots that were once a symbol of community now sit in an unnerving silence. A graveyard of family dinners passed. This wasn't a sudden storm, it was a slow, agonizing sinking, caused by years of neglect. The crushing weight of rising ingredient costs, unsustainable rent prices, and a steady exodus of customers created the perfect storm. The final fatal blow was a marketing gimmick gone wrong. The ultimate endless shrimp promotion. Designed to lure people back, it became a financial black hole, hemorrhaging tens of millions of dollars and accelerating the chain's demise. Behind the bolted doors are tens of thousands of lives upended, employees left jobless, and communities mourning the loss of a local institution. The fall of Red Lobster is a chilling omen, a sign that the very fabric of middle-class American life is tearing. When a simple seafood dinner becomes an unattainable luxury, we are left to wonder, what else are we about to lose? 11. The final Friday. TGI Fridays. Imagine waking up on the first day of the new year, not to celebration, but to a scene of commercial carnage. That was the grim reality for residents in Massachusetts. On January 1st, 2024, 12 TGI Fridays restaurants vanished overnight. There was no warning, no farewell message to loyal customers, just the jarring sight of dismantled signs and vacant, desolate parking lots. This coordinated shutdown was not an isolated event. It was a horrifying signal of a much deeper rot. The brand that once defined the jubilant end of the work week, the very embodiment of "thank God it's Friday," is now in a terrifying freefall. The party is over. This isn't just a story about profit and loss. It's about the erasure of cultural memory. For millions of Americans, particularly those 50 and older, TGI Fridays is woven into the tapestry of their lives. It was the backdrop for countless firsts: the first grown-up meal with your child, the raucous 20th birthday party, the nervous first date with a future spouse. Now, those spaces of joy and connection are sealed tombs, marked only by a cold, clinical notice of permanent closure taped to the glass. One viewer's account paints a visceral, painful picture of the decay. "I walked into TGI Fridays and waited 20 minutes for a table. After another 30 minutes, no one had even come to take our order. The table was grimy, the menus were sticky, and dirty dishes were piled on nearby empty tables. I looked at my family and we just got up and left. I will never go back. This isn't just a bad review, it's the sound of a trust being shattered. The chain's problems go far beyond a shifting market. It's a casualty of a fundamental change in American society. Younger generations are flocking to faster, more casual options, while the older, inflation-battered crowd can no longer justify the expense. Franchise owners are drowning, crushed by rent and labor costs, forced to abandon their locations to stop the financial bleeding. The mass closures in Massachusetts were merely the first tremor. More are coming. The cheerful acronym TGIF now serves as a haunting epitaph for a bygone era, a sad reminder of the vibrant places we once had and tragically failed to keep. 10. The dying ember, Hooters. While the sudden death of TGI Fridays felt like a violent shock, the decline of Hooters is a different kind of horror. It's the slow, creeping dread of watching an icon fade into nothingness, an era turning to dust before our very eyes. In mid-2024, a silent wave of closures swept across the country, from Virginia to Florida. Locations that were once beacons of orange and white simply vanished. The logos were stripped from the buildings, leaving ghostly outlines on the walls as if they were never there. There were no press releases, no grand announcements, just an expanding void that left a generation of Americans asking, what happened? The place that was once a brash, unapologetic fixture of American culture is quietly being extinguished. The truth is, Hooters didn't die from a single catastrophic event. It is dying because it became a relic. America evolved, and Hooters stood still, clinging to a 1990s model that feels jarringly out of place in the modern world. Its signature blend of a sports bar with overt sex appeal no longer resonates with a new generation that values more neutral, less awkward social spaces. The brand's foundation began to crumble from the inside out. Skyrocketing wing prices, shrinking portions, and a noticeable decline in food quality led even longtime fans to declare that it was no longer worth the money. But the most damning narrative came from within. Former employees began sharing stories of toxic work environments, of harassment and intense pressure based on appearance. Lengthy online threads exposed unsettling behind-the-scenes conditions, creating a cloud of negativity that slowly drove customers away for good. One comment captured the chilling realization: I don't like Hooters, but I never thought it would disappear. It turns out, in this America, anything can disappear faster than we think. Hooters wasn't defeated by a direct competitor. It was defeated by the passage of time. As modern gastropubs and craft beer bars rose, Hooters refused to let go of the past, a past that no longer fits. The once lively brand is now just a memory, its neon glow replaced by the darkness of abandoned storefronts and the unsettling silence of empty parking lots. 9. The road within. Boston Market. Some restaurants fade away. Boston Market is being torn apart from the inside, collapsing under the weight of its own failures in a horrifyingly public spectacle. This is not a quiet closure. It's a systemic meltdown. The chain's demise isn't about changing tastes or declining foot traffic. It's about a complete and catastrophic breakdown of operational integrity. Between 2023 and 2024, the brand descended into a corporate nightmare. State authorities forcibly shut down 27 locations for failure to pay their own employees. Workers in multiple states reported going weeks, even months, without receiving their paychecks, with some stores being sealed by officials mid-shift. The road went deeper. The company was buried under more than $11 million in unpaid bills to its suppliers. Vendors of chicken, vegetables, and seasonings all filed lawsuits, alleging they were never paid. The consequence was inevitable. The supply chain was severed. With no ingredients coming in, kitchens went dark. At least 50 stores were shuttered in just 12 months, not as part of a strategic restructuring but as emergency shutdowns. Employees would show up for work only to find the doors locked and their jobs gone without a word. One viewer shared a story that resonates with the shock and betrayal felt by many. Boston Market used to be our family's go-to for a weekend dinner. Then the one in my town just disappeared overnight. No sign, no warning. Just a metal shutter pulled down and a cold piece of paper taped to it. Boston Market's innovation may have stalled, but the true horror lies in the fact that it was abandoned from within. There was no one with the money or the responsibility to steer it away from the abyss. Not every brand falls because of a trend. Some simply rot from the head down. A company once synonymous with a warm, home-style meal is now a case study in corporate negligence. Its name dragged through lawsuits and headlines about seized assets. The tragedy of Boston Market isn't that America forgot about it. It's that the company forgot how to be a business. It didn't just fail its customers, it failed its own people, and in doing so, orchestrated its own gruesome end. 8. The drowning of Joe's Crab Shack. The ocean is often romanticized as a place of freedom and escape, but for Joe's Crab Shack, the water has risen above the deck and the ship is taking its final gasping breath. Once this brand was the ultimate getaway, a manufactured paradise of fake crashing waves, the heavy scent of garlic butter and plastic bibs tied around the necks of laughing families. It was a slice of the coast brought to the suburbs, a place where the worries of the mainland couldn't follow you. But today that vibrant, chaotic energy has been replaced by a suffocating silence. Joe's Crab Shack isn't just struggling, it is drowning in plain sight, and terrifyingly, no one is throwing a lifeline. The tragedy didn't start yesterday. The hull was breached back in 2017 when the parent company filed for bankruptcy, triggering a night of long knives where over 40 restaurants were severed from the fleet in a single darkness. But if 2017 was the storm, 2025 is the shipwreck. We have now entered the beyond saving stage. Across the country, locations aren't just closing, they are being seized. Authorities have moved in to seal doors over unpaid wages, while desperate suppliers owed hundreds of thousands of dollars have cut the supply lines. Imagine driving up to your local Joe's expecting a celebration, only to find a hollow shell furniture stripped, lights dead, and the soul of the building ripped out overnight. Even Landry's, the corporate titan famous for scavenging and reviving dying brands, seems to have looked at Joe's and walked away, offering a silent verdict that chills the industry to the bone. This corpse is not worth resurrecting. The reasons are as brutal as they are unsolvable. Skyrocketing seafood costs have made the business model untenable, while inflation-battered customers refuse to pay premium prices for a declining experience. One viewer's testimony paints a gruesome picture of this decay. "I loved this place, but the last time I went, the shrimp had the texture of rubber, and the crab was stone cold. I looked at my plate and realized Joe's Crab Shack was already dead. It just hadn't stopped moving yet. It wasn't just a bad dinner, it was a funeral for a memory." Now, all that remains in many states are faded signs bleaching in the sun and empty buildings that smell of dust instead of the sea. The escape is over. The question now isn't if they can survive, but how long until the final location sinks beneath the waves forever. 7. The erasure of Ruby Tuesday. There is a specific kind of horror in watching something familiar simply cease to exist, like a candle blown out in a drafty room. That is the story of Ruby Tuesday. In April 2024, unsuspecting employees and loyal patrons arrived at locations across America only to find the doors locked and the windows dark. There was no fanfare, no press release, and no thank you for decades of patronage. Just a cold, white sheet of paper taped to the glass, closed, effective immediately. For a moment it felt as if a piece of the American landscape had simply stopped breathing. Ruby Tuesday was once a titan, boasting over 800 restaurants where families, particularly those over 50, gathered for the ritual of the salad bar and a dependable meal. But the collapse we are witnessing now is not a sudden explosion. It is a slow, agonizing erosion that has been eating away at the foundation for years. The brand is a victim of the mall apocalypse, dying alongside the retail centers it anchored, but it is also a victim of its own paralysis. While the world moved forward, younger generations sprinting toward fast casual concepts and healthier options, Ruby Tuesday stood frozen in time. They kept the same tired menu, the same dated decor, and the same slow service model, all while raising prices and shrinking portions. In 2020, the chain filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, a desperate attempt to cauterize the wound, closing over 200 locations in a matter of weeks. From its peak of 800, fewer than 200 survive today, and that number is hemorrhaging every month. The cruelest reality is that Ruby Tuesday didn't lose to a better competitor, it lost to irrelevance. It became a ghost while it was still open. A viewer shared a heartbreaking observation. "We went back for nostalgia, but the portions were tiny, the prices were shocking, and the taste, it was nothing like I remembered." That wasn't a complaint. That was a goodbye. That sentiment is the nail in the coffin. Ruby Tuesday is fading away not with a bang, but with the quiet, terrifying click of hundreds of locks turning for the last time. It is taking a slice of American cultural history with it into the dark, leaving behind empty shells that serve as monuments to a time that no longer exists. 6. The silent decay. Steak and Shake. If you drive past a Steak and Shake late at night, you might see the neon sign flickering. But don't be fooled. The lights may be on, but the heart of the beast has stopped beating. This was once a 24-hour sanctuary for teenagers and night owls, a place where the griddle sizzled with steak burgers and the milkshakes were thick enough to stand a spoon in. But the death of Steak and Shake is one of the most unsettling stories in the restaurant world because it isn't loud. It is a silent, creeping rot from the inside out. In a span of just 2 years, over 100 locations have vanished into thin air. But they didn't close because people stopped liking burgers. They closed because the operational system collapsed into chaos. The brand is rotting from the core. Fryers break down and sit unrepaired for weeks. Kitchens are rusting. Frozen inventory piles up in freezers because there is no one to cook it. The parent company's desperate attempt to pivot entirely to a franchise model exposed a terrifying truth. Nobody wants this bird. Prospective owners looked at the books and saw a graveyard. No loyal customers, zero competitive edge, and a bleak future. More than half the corporate stores were put up for sale, and they sat there unwanted, like cursed artifacts. The most chilling aspect of this decline is the zombie-like state of the locations that remain open. A viewer's story sent shivers through our comments section. I stopped by at 10 p.m. The door was unlocked, but the inside was pitch black. A single employee walked out of the shadows and whispered, "We don't have anyone left to cook." I felt like I had walked into an abandoned building that didn't know it was closed yet. That is the horrifying reality of Steak and Shake, and it isn't dying because of the economy. It is dying because there is no one left to keep it alive. The remaining stores are phantom limbs, twitching before the body finally gives out. We are witnessing the silent death of a burger empire, and soon the only thing left will be the memory of a paper hat and a shake that used to taste like joy. 5. The crumbling empire. Subway. It is hard to imagine a giant the size of Subway falling, but when a structure this massive begins to crumble, the ground shakes for everyone. Subway didn't collapse in a day. It was dismantled, brick by brick, by the very people who once built it. Its customer. The decline of Subway is the story of a brand that went deaf, unable to hear the footsteps of millions of Americans walking out the door, never to return. The Eat Fresh promise that defined the company for 20 years has curdled into a grim joke of stale bread, wilting lettuce, and meat that taste like despair. The economics of the collapse are staggering. Prices have nearly doubled, while quality has been slashed in half. The $5 footlong is a distant, mythical memory. One viewer shared a receipt that serves as a tombstone for the brand. The same sandwich I ate for 2 decades used to cost me $7. I looked at that piece of paper and knew, right then and there, that Subway and I were done. This isn't just inflation, it's betrayal. For the working class, Subway was a lifeline. A quick, affordable lunch. When you price a sandwich at $16 while serving lower quality ingredients, you aren't just raising prices, you are erasing yourself from the daily lives of millions. The fallout has been catastrophic. Franchisees are bleeding out, losing thousands of dollars a month, trapped in a business model that no longer works. Over 8,000 stores have shuttered, a number so large it's hard to comprehend. That's 8,000 darkened storefronts, 8,000 empty counters, 8,000 dreams of small business ownership crushed. The sale of the company to Roark Capital wasn't a victory lap, it was a salvage operation. It was a signal that the golden age is dead and buried. Subway is currently surviving on momentum alone, but friction is catching up. The chain is fighting a war on 2 fronts. A public that feels ripped off and a franchisee base that feels abandoned. If Subway were to vanish tomorrow, the terrifying question isn't what went wrong. It's would you actually miss it? For a growing number of Americans, the answer is a resounding silence. 4. The dying light. Denny's. There's a unique horror in watching a constant, dependable light begin to flicker and die. For generations, Denny's was that light. The glowing beacon of a sleepless America. It was the 24/7 promise of a hot meal, the sanctuary for third-shift workers, the starting line for road trips, and the final stop after a long night out. For millions of Americans over 50, Denny's isn't just a restaurant, it's a living archive of their memories. It was the first time they treated their child to a grand slam, the place where youthful friendships were forged over bottomless coffee, the bright warm haven on a dark highway. But now that reliable light is being extinguished, location by location. The always open sign, once a symbol of American resilience, is now a cruel irony, as more and more locations turn off the lights for good. The decay didn't happen in a single dramatic power outage. It was a slow-motion system failure, a series of cracks spreading through the foundation. The very model that made Denny's an icon, its 24/7 operation, became an anchor dragging it to the bottom. Soaring labor costs turned overnight shifts into a financial nightmare. At the same time, inflation-battered customers started seeing a sit-down breakfast not as a staple but as a luxury they could no longer afford. The final fatal blow was a catastrophic decline in the one thing Denny's was supposed to guarantee: comfort. Reports flooded in of burnt pancakes, cold bacon, and greasy tables, a cardinal sin for a brand built on reliability. An older viewer shared a story that encapsulates this tragic decline. "I took my grandson to Denny's, hoping to pass down a tradition, but the table was sticky, the wait was agonizing, and the food arrived cold. I looked at his disappointed face and knew the Denny's of my memory was dead. What should have been a beautiful moment became a funeral. This isn't just a bad meal, it's the erasure of a legacy. The American diner, a place of warmth and community, is becoming a cold, empty shell. Denny's isn't just losing money, it's losing its soul, and soon, all that might be left is the ghost of a promise that it was always open." 3. The abandoned neighborhood. Applebee. Some brands feel so woven into the fabric of American life that their disappearance seems impossible. Applebee's was one of them. It was the default setting for the American suburb, the neighborhood grill bar where you didn't just eat, you belonged. It was the backdrop for countless weeknight family dinners, casual birthday celebrations, and first dates. For a generation, a $30 bill at Applebee's felt like a fair exchange for a moment of connection and comfort. But the friendly neighborhood grill is turning into a block of empty, foreclosed houses. The collapse is happening so fast, it's causing whiplash. With over 300 locations already shuttered and the company's own CEO admitting that the chain must continue to shrink to survive, the writing isn't just on the wall, it's carved into the tombstone. What is killing Applebee's? It's not a mystery. It's a betrayal. The brand committed the ultimate sin in the eyes of its core middle-class audience. It started charging premium prices for a subpar product. As menu prices soared to levels that once felt unimaginable, the quality plummeted into a nosedive. The burgers got smaller, the steaks tougher, and the service slower. For families already wrestling with inflation, Applebee's transformed from a reliable comfort into an overpriced insult. One story from a former loyalist captured this sentiment perfectly. "My family went to Applebee's every Sunday. The last time we went, the food was cold, the portions were a joke, and the bill was nearly $50. My wife and I just looked at each other. We knew we had just lost a piece of our life." That isn't a review. It's a eulogy. Franchisees are drowning, crushed between skyrocketing rent and a customer base that has lost all trust. They are closing their doors overnight, not as a business strategy, but as an act of financial survival. Applebee's didn't adapt to a changing America, and now it's paying the price. The neighborhood is moving out, the lights are going dark, and the house that once felt like home is being boarded up for good. 2. The final sunrise. There is a quiet dread that comes with seeing a once bustling place become empty. The Sunday morning parking lot at IHOP, once a chaotic sea of minivans and sedans, is now in many towns a desolate landscape of vacant asphalt. This was where America started its day. The International House of Pancakes was a temple of breakfast. A place where the scent of hot coffee and buttermilk batter was the smell of family, of lazy weekends, and of simple joy. But as we head deeper into 2025, a harsh and unforgiving dawn is breaking. The familiar blue roof, once a symbol of morning comfort, is now casting a dark shadow of impending doom. The sickness afflicting IHOP is a symptom of a much larger disease spreading through the casual dining industry. Its entire model of full-service, sit-down breakfast is becoming a relic of a more prosperous time. A simple breakfast for two can now easily breach the $40 mark, a price that transforms a weekly ritual into an unaffordable luxury. As one former regular lamented, breakfast at IHOP used to be a habit. Now it's a special occasion we can't justify. This wasn't a sudden shift. It was a slow, creeping realization that the world had changed too fast. IHOP isn't failing because people stopped loving pancakes. It's failing because the economic reality of the average American family no longer includes spending that kind of money on a meal they can make at home for a fraction of the cost. The brand is caught in a death trap. It cannot lower prices without sacrificing its already strained quality, and it cannot maintain its prices without alienating its core audience. The parent company's efforts to prop it up feel like trying to patch a sinking ship with paper towels. The empty tables are a silent scream, a warning that a pillar of American morning culture is about to crumble. Soon, the only house of pancakes left may be the one in our memories. 1. The Trembling Fortress, Olive Garden. For years, Olive Garden has seemed invincible, the last unbreachable fortress in the war-torn landscape of casual dining. While its rivals fell one by one, Olive Garden stood firm, a testament to the enduring power of unlimited breadsticks and the promise of Italian-American abundance. But now, for the first time, the fortress is trembling. The ground beneath it is shifting, and cracks are appearing in the walls. Olive Garden has not yet collapsed, but the signs of a coming catastrophe are too obvious to ignore. This is the most terrifying entry on our list, because if a titan like Olive Garden can fall, it means the entire casual dining ecosystem is on the verge of extinction. The threats are coming from all sides. The cost of the Italian ingredients that form the brand's identity is soaring, putting immense pressure on its value-driven menu. Its loyal, middle-aged customer base is being squeezed by an unforgiving economy, forcing them to cut back on the very treat meals that Olive Garden represents. Meanwhile, younger generations are turning away from heavy, carbohydrate-centric dining in favor of lighter, faster options. The symptoms are undeniable. The once legendary wait times are vanishing. On a Friday night, you can see them. The empty table. Locations are closing, not in a sudden headline-grabbing wave, but quietly, one by one, like a slow, spreading infection. A longtime fan captured the growing sense of dread. I love Olive Garden, but the food just doesn't fit my life anymore. When a brand built on the idea of endless generosity starts to feel out of step and out of reach, it is in mortal danger. Olive Garden's struggle is not just about one company's balance sheet, it is a terrifying barometer for the health of the American middle class. If this last bastion of casual dining falls, it will signal the definitive end of an era, proving that in the brutal economy of 2025, nothing, not even the promise of when you're here, your family is sacred.